Howdy friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how and why I mill my own flour. For those who are new here, howdy and hello, my name is Corinne and I am the creator behind Spiraea Herbs. In addition to being a herbalist, my family also dabbles a little in homesteading, where we grow a lot of our own food, we make most of our own medicines, I cook from scratch, and all of those wonderful magical things. And so I've been milling my own flour for, I would say about 7 or 8 years now, probably closer to 8 years. And there's a bunch of reasons why I do this. Now, interestingly enough, my family has moved away from eating a lot of grains, but when we do, I still go to spelt as my number one grain, and I'm still using freshly milled flour. So there's a lot of advantages if you don't actually consume a lot of wheat-based products with milling your own. The number one, okay, so let's talk about a few reasons why I love milling my own flour. One, wheat berries are very, very, very shelf stable, unlike flour. And so I actually have a video on this. I'm going to link it below if you're curious on how we pack a lot of our food. But of course, this bag has been opened, but I store all of our wheat berries in Mylar bags, and stored properly with all of the air, with oxygen absorbers, they can store up to 25 years. Whereas flour, sadly, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, is often rancid by the time you buy it at the grocery store anyway. So reason number one is you're going to get way more shelf life out of your wheat berries if you buy them that way as opposed to buying flour. So for those who aren't familiar with wheat berries, this is what I'm talking about. How cool is that? And I'll show you my mill and how I actually turn these into flour. But another reason why I really love milling my own flour is that it's actually far more nutritious to do so. The reason for that is very similar to the idea of picking a ripe piece of fruit and eating it right away, as opposed to picking something slightly unripened and allowing it to ripen on the truck while it gets to you. It starts to lose nutrition after it has been picked. And since wheat berries are fully intact, you know, these cool little grains, fully intact until the minute I mill them, they are at their most nutritious state. So I need flour for dinner tonight. We're making German pancakes. I have a video on that too, and a recipe. I want to use the freshest flour possible. And the number one way to ensure that is by milling your own. Okay, another really awesome benefit. So as I mentioned, you can buy in bulk and store long term. So if you're a bit of a prepper and you want to buy some items in bulk, it makes way more sense to buy wheat berries than it does to buy flour. Unless you're freezing your flour, not everybody's got that kind of freezer space. But wheat berries are way more cost effective than buying flour, especially if you are using some of the more ancient grains or some of the more obscure or difficult to find ones. So it's way, way, way cheaper for me to buy organic spelt wheat berries than it is for me to buy spelt flour. I think last time now it's been a long time since I've done a cost comparison, but I think it was at least 5 times cheaper. That's a massive difference with today's world of inflation and trying to save a little bit of money. So my grain mill, which yes, is an upfront expenditure you're going to have to buy, was paid for within a year or two. And so for me, it was an absolutely worthwhile expenditure. Another really great benefit of milling your own flour is you actually have access to a wider range of grains than you would if you just headed to the grocery store and bought flour. You can buy rye, you can buy spelt, you can buy einkorn, you can buy hard wheat, soft wheat, you can get into really cool heritage grains that you're just not going to find in flour form unless you're lucky enough to have a mill close to you. And so you can really start to experiment with all the different types of grains you want to work with and see what works best for your family. Okay, so my last benefit of milling your own flour before I show you the mill that I have and how easy it is to mill your own flour is the flavor difference. And when you know, you know. And now that I can actually taste rancid flour if it's like older flour that was used, if you've purchased it from the grocery store, and there's just no difference whatsoever. So not only can I buy it and store it in bulk, do I have access to a wider range of grains. It's cheaper in the long run. Remember, you are going to have to invest in some type of piece of equipment in order to mill, and no, your blender or your food processor will not cut it. Not when you're trying to make flour. Anywho, the flavor just doesn't compare. I'm going to take you on a journey over to my grain mill. I know I said no blenders, but I do have some friends that have tried using a Vitamix. I've heard mixed things. Give it a try. If you have used a Vitamix with success, let me put this down, and it's worked well for you, please tell the community, let us know. When I was shopping, now remember mine is about 8 years old, so I've had this one for quite a while. There weren't a lot of the same grain mills that are on the market now, so please do your research. I will post a link to mine below, so if you really are interested. One of the cons of this one is that it does heat up the flour a little bit, whereas there are other grain mills that are, I think, more like stone mills that don't. So far, this one has served my family's needs very, very well, and it was an investment. I will probably, when this one kicks the bucket, I will buy a new one. What I was looking at the time was an attachment for my KitchenAid mixer. I was debating about going that route as well. Why I decided not to was because I read way too many forums and comments about blowing out the motor on the KitchenAid mixer, especially if you consume a large amount, like say you bake your own breads and you use a lot of wheat products. It's possible you could blow out the motor on your mixer, and then you're having to buy a new attachment and a new mixer. So for me, I wanted to have a separate machine. So like I said, I've been using this one for about 8 years. It may not be the best on the market at this point, but it has served my family's needs very, very well. All right, friends, so I have the Wonder Mill, and it's so funny because I think sometimes when people hear that I mill my own flour, they think I'm outside with like a donkey and 2 stones. Yeah, no, this lady does not have time for that. So I usually like to go with bread coarseness for most of what I need. We're doing German pancakes tonight, so that is more than good enough. So all you have to do is turn it on. It's going to get loud, so preface that if you have headphones on. So this attachment comes with the Wonder Mill. It also came with another container, well, actually just a different lid for storage. So as you saw, you just put the wheat berries in here, and then you open that baby up, and you've got freshly milled whole grain spelt flour. So from here, if you wanted to sift it, you could. I'm not 100% on wheat yields. I put in about 4 cups of wheat berries, and it looks like I've got over 4 cups of flour, if I had to guess. The whole process took under 60 seconds, I'd say, to make that. And yeah, so really, really simple, really easy. And now I've got freshly milled flour to make some dinner with tonight. All right, hubby just got home, which means I'm actually late to making dinner. So I'm going to get cracking. If you've got any questions about freshly milled flour, any comments or thoughts, of course, please leave those below. And until next time, this is Corinne from Spiraea Herbs, wishing you health and wellness.